hear me, kindly unmute your mic and say something.
Good evening.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. It is nice meeting you again. Please, can we try to unmute? Sorry, try to mute our mic for and mute put up our camera. Sorry, so that we can have a coordinated stuff. Thank you very much. Yes. So good evening everyone. Thank you once again for joining. My name is Omodara Faith and I'll be the host for this month's edition of the Meet and Chat with the professionals. Okay, so you might be wondering, this is the Finance Business Partners, and we are a community of finance and accounting professionals committed to changing the narrative of finance professions. We do this by providing mentoring and coaching services to young individuals who want to build a career in accounting, finance, business, and related fields. So, in the course of this meeting, the link to our social media accounts will be posted in the chat box. Please do well to join. Today, we are inviting one of the best, if not the best, Matthew Alaofin, with a remarkable track record in finance, business strategy, and an extensive background in various prestigious organizations. Mr. Matthew brings a wealth of experience and knowledge to the table. Mr. Matthew is a highly accomplished professional, holding both. I'm sorry, please, John, please, can you put off your camera? Mr. John, can you please put off your camera? I don't think you can hear me. So, Mr. Matthew Alaofin is a highly accomplished professional holding both the Associate Chartered Accountant and Associate Chartered Management Accountant certifications. His academic journey began with a remarkable first-class degree in chemistry from the prestigious Kogi State University, showcasing his dedication to excellence and his ability to excel in diverse fields. To further enhance his skill set, Mr. Matthew pursued a master's degree at Manchester Metropolitan University, where he deepened his understanding of business dynamics and financial management. Not one to rest on his laurels, he continued his education by earning an MBA from Washington University in St. Louis Business School, cementing his expertise in strategic business planning and leadership. Throughout his career, Mr. Matthew has worked with renowned organizations, each contributing to his well-rounded professional acumen. His journey started at Access Bank, where he honed his financial expertise and developed a keen understanding of the banking sector. From there, he made a significant impact at KPMG, bringing his strategic insight to help clients navigate complex financial challenges. We are excited and delighted to have Mr. Matthew Alaofin share his expertise and inspire us with his visionary leadership. Please, can we offer a round of applause as we invite our distinguished speaker, Mr. Matthew, to start the session? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Faith. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Faith, for the introduction.
You're coming back now.
I feel a little bit flattered.
You're leaving your bag.
Thank you to the Finance Business Partners leadership for inviting me. So Faith has largely talked about my career experience and all that. So I'll just be speaking to us on the subject, building an effective finance career in multinational organizations. So I'll be talking based on my own experiences and based on the things I've seen, and based on the people I've met. So I'll speak for some time, and maybe we can jot down whatever questions you might have, so that at the end of the speech or the session, you can then ask questions, just so that there are no lots of interruptions. So just take notes of your questions. So yeah, I just have I think 5. I'm sorry I don't have any PowerPoint to show you, but if you can listen to the things I have to say, I have my notes, and if you feel like jotting down anything. So I think one of the strategies of not also displaying the PowerPoint is just so that you don't get lost in the PowerPoint and you're reading the PowerPoint instead of trying to listen to what I'm saying. So I have five things I've outlined that I'll be talking about. Number one is introduction, which Faith has already done. Maybe I'll add one or two. And the second thing is to give you a little bit of insight give you a little bit of insight into finance and accounting. Are they exactly the same? Most of you guys are actually accountants. Yeah. So, and then I'll talk about the structure of accounting or finance teams in organizations. They are not all the same. They differ based on the size of the organizations. And then I'll talk about positioning yourself for success. What are the things you need to do to effectively position yourself for success? And then we'll open the floor for questions. So yeah, with respect to my personal experience, yes, Faith already said it. I studied chemistry. I was lucky. I graduated with a first class. Well, I think I really loved chemistry. I wanted to, I loved my white lab coats. I wanted to maybe work in the chemical industry, but when we graduated, finished NYC, I was looking for jobs. So I had a friend who actually we were looking for jobs together, but he studied accounting, and so it was through him I actually knew about the Big Four, and we were just walking around the Koyi. Then it wasn't much of electronic application, so I actually dropped my physical resume in KPMG, and that was how I dropped the hard copy at the physical office, just at the reception, and that was how my journey into KPMG began. So one point to note here is that the value of friendships, the value of friendship. So this guy, I wouldn't have even known anything if I had not met. I wouldn't have known anything about the Big Four and all that. But my career started with KPMG. I spent 6 years. I moved on to British American Tobacco, and then from there, British American Tobacco, I got there through another friend. And then I left British American Tobacco to American Tower through a friend, before I decided to go for an MBA and all that. So, and then looking back at my career, I think I'm not sure chemistry would have given me the kind of opportunities and exposure that the accounting experience and my experience in KPMG has given to me. So now I'll move on to the difference between finance and accounting. So you need to understand that it's not exactly the same. The reason why this came to my mind to talk about it is because, when you come or when you speak to somebody in the Western world, in Europe, America, Canada, and they're talking about your experience, the way they understand finance is actually different. Majority of us who did ICANN or CIMA or ACCA and all those kind of stuffs, we are accountants. Experience is in accounting. Now, accounting has to do with you're going back to past records. You prepare financial statements, and financial statements and financial reports are based on past records. You have to prepare your balance sheet, prepare your P&L cash flows, and make sure that everything is accurate, and the information is correct. Of course, accounting, audit is under accounting, advisory, tax, all those things are under accounting. All these Big Four, actually, KPMG, Deloitte, PwC, and EY, they call them accounting firms, right? Because everything they do is all about accounting. Now, finance is a little bit different. Finance is about, how to, for example, if a company wants to raise capital, a new company, they want to raise money for capital or equity, it is the finance firm that comes in to help them. The investment banking kind of stuff where they help them to raise money for the business, to raise capital for the business. So finance covers all that: mergers and acquisition, valuation of companies, all those your stuff you do in strategic financial management in ICANN. All those things are actually under the umbrella of finance. You know, so in finance, you're helping people to manage money, or how do they make more money, right? And how do they raise equity? At what point do they think that they should acquire another company, or at what point do they think that they should sell their company? That's really what finance is all about. You could read more, but those two words could be used interchangeably, really, especially in the Nigerian environment. You see companies say, hey, this is the finance department, but really what they mean is the accounting department, right? So just so you have that understanding when you're speaking to somebody who is not within that Nigerian context, and then you start saying my experience is finance, the person might get confused and start saying, okay, what did you do in finance? And then you start talking about accounting, right? It's important to know that. So moving on to the structure of teams. So I'll be using finance and accounting interchangeably because in the Nigerian context, it's used interchangeably. So if I say finance department or accounting department, I hope you understand what I mean. So the structure of teams in finance and accounting departments differ. It depends on the size of the organization. And I thought about telling you the structure of teams first before I go into positioning yourself for success, so that you know how to you know what to expect. And say, I know maybe some of you are already working, but you know how it works in different places. So when I was in British American Tobacco, it's a manufacturing company, the largest tobacco manufacturing company in the world. I don't smoke, by the way, but I work for a lot of people who work in BAT don't smoke. So the finance department has three different units. We have the operations finance, we have the corporate finance, and then we have the commercial finance. So the corporate finance, I was a compliance manager. My title was corporate finance manager, compliance and controls. So I was in charge of compliance controls in West Africa, and that was about 14 countries. Though I was in the corporate finance team. And then in the corporate finance team as well, you have the people dealing with GL, general ledger, balance sheets, P&L. You have the people doing FP&A, budgeting, forecasting, and tracking all those things. You have the people dealing with accounts payable. So you see, there are four different teams under that corporate finance. Now you have the operations finance. Operations finance has to do with the direct cost, the cost of the items they bring in. So they deal with all that, bringing the cost into the books. Are they costing the product well, and all sorts. Then the commercial finance has to do with the people who deal with customers and give them incentives, trade incentives. They follow up with receivables and all that kind of stuff. So you see, there are three different large teams for a company like that because it's big. And that's what you find in such big manufacturing companies, or any company as big as British American Tobacco. But when I left British American Tobacco and came to American Tower as the financial accounting and reporting manager, it was a bit different, right? I, as the finance manager, was dealing with FP&A, budget, forecasts. I was dealing with the general ledger, balance sheets, P&L, making sure everything is fine, tracking all that kind of stuff. So I covered a lot more things, within the finance team compared to somebody who is in British American Tobacco who just have to concentrate on one particular thing. So that structure is different. Now, regardless of the structure that you have in your company or the company you will get into, you need to build relationships with the respective people you'll be working with, right? When I was in American Tower, I was like, I think I was dealing with more people because my table covered a lot more things. I was dealing with more people, so I could speak with more people Um, in British American Tower, my job didn't really have to. Although I was speaking with people, but like you have a streamlined kind of role or task. So other people handle other things. So there are different structures within this organization. So I'll shed more light on that structure as I'm moving ahead into positioning yourself for success. Now, so positioning yourself for success, this is the real thing I've come to talk about, which is how to build your finance career in multinational firms. See, the first thing, technical skills, which is very important. A lot of times, anywhere in the world, before you get an opportunity to speak for yourself and to let them know that you can do this thing, you can do this job they're looking for somebody for. Before you're able to speak for yourself, it's your resume that speaks for you first. They get thousands of resume and they have to look through all of them and say, hey, this one, no, it doesn't have ICANN, it doesn't have ACC, it doesn't have CFA and all that, right? And they look at your experience. What has it done before? Like, if it's not a graduate trainee role, if it's not at entry level, if it's maybe they need 2 or 3 years, they'll look at your resume, what have you done before, and all that kind of stuff. So your resume speaks for you first. And now, the technical experience which you have is what you put into your resume, right? And then your professional certifications. I'm sure you know that a lot of firms, a lot of accounting roles, they will say, hey, we want somebody who has ICANN qualification or ACC. So if you want to be an accountant, or if you want to grow, or if you want to get into multinational firms, it is important that you seek and pursue to get financial professional certifications, either the ICANN or the ACC. I know there's ANAN, but I'm not sure a lot of companies regard ANAN the way they regard ICANN and ACC. So it's critical that you pursue professional certifications, because now it gives you a step ahead of others that, hey, this person has ICANN, okay, let's talk to him. Let's first, see out the people who don't have ICANN certificates first, and then those ones don't even get an opportunity to interview. And then those who have the qualification, they would say, okay, let's start talking. Even if you are not qualified, of course, you would have started writing the exam, and they will be willing to talk to you if you've started at least making efforts writing the exam. So it's critical that you have that professional certifications. But I'll tell you that you could have professional certification and it gets you into the firm, but if you don't have the right attitude and if you don't have the right team membership skills, you're not going to grow. You're not going to grow. I know somebody who worked with me at British American Tobacco who he didn't spend up to 2 weeks. This was a first class graduate and maybe was the best graduating student in the school, but his attitude to work was was nasty in the real sense of it. Nasty in the real sense of it. And it didn't last 2 weeks. He came in as a contract staff. So as a contract staff, they could terminate you anytime they want to. And then the person who brought him in had to be apologizing that, man, I didn't know this is how nasty this person could get. So it's critical to help you get your leg into the firms, but it's not what is going to sustain you. So a few things that are going to sustain you now. When you get into the firm, how well do you do your job? Are you that kind of person that is very lackadaisical and they give you a job to do, even though they give you like three hours to perform a task, right? And you know very well that you can do this thing in 90 minutes, 1 hour, 30 minutes. But because you just, like the easy way and you don't want to stress yourself, you just keep dragging the work, and you do it at exactly 3 hours or a little bit more. You see, you need to be true to yourself that whether consciously or unconsciously, people are observing you. and your manager is observing you. So if they give you a task that you and they give you a timeline that you think that okay, I think this timeline is quite, I can do it before the deadline, then you should. You have no reason not to, because that counts in your favor. That counts for you when you do such things, right? And then your manager says that wow, you've done this, and this is good, this is brilliant. Even though, see, they might not commend you like, hey, thank you, you've done very well. That our Nigerian mentality. Not a lot of people really commend their team members like that, which is not good anyway. But they are observing. You're differentiating yourself from the others. When there's time for okay, who is going to do this for us, or who, if I'm going to rank my team members, I'm going to rank you first. Because you take that time. Now, if they give you a task, right, that hey, this timeline is not going to be sufficient, but the first thing is not going to be for you to argue and argue and argue, but as you begin the task and you see that hey, you will not be able to meet the timeline, you have to negotiate and say, hey, this is where I'm at. You have to talk about the state, what you've done so far, and how much more you still have to do. You negotiate, you communicate. Communication is very, very key, right? It's not like it's almost time for the deliverable, and that's when you're communicating, hey, sorry, I can't meet the deadline. That's not counting very well for you. That's going to count against you, right? So you have to be able to communicate that, hey, I'm sorry, I might need more time to do this, but this is what I've done so far. You are able to build trust and reliability, when you do all those kind of things. Sometimes your manager might know that this time might not be enough for you and all that, but you do something and say, hey, this is where I'm at. I think I might need more time. However, for some of us who work as accountants and you have to do monthly reporting, with that one, you have to kill yourself to get the deadline. Because when I was in American Tower, for example, you see, there was no discussion on not meeting deadline, no excuse. You have to do all you can. In such scenarios, of course, you have to do everything you can to ensure, because you just have 5 working days after the beginning of the next month, and you have to send the report outside Nigeria, South Africa, US. So in those kind of scenarios that the timelines can shift, it is you who now need to think about, okay, what are the resources I need? What would help me to be more efficient, to get what I need to do, to get it done? Yeah. So I'll move to the next point. You need to be very current. A lot of things are happening in Nigeria's economy right now. You need to be very current. You need to read a lot. Now, read a lot is not just reading anything. It's not just going on Instablog, or, of course, some of you want to laugh and all that, go on all those things. But as a professional, you need to read things that helps your professional knowledge, that helps your professional positioning. The issue of inflation, what's going on, the issue of debts, borrowings in Nigeria, what's going on, CBN floating the FX rates, what's going on, how does it affect the economy, how does it affect your company, how does it affect your job? Now, it is critical that you read these things and understand them, how it affects your company. So if there's a conversation in your company or a meeting in your company and people are talking about these policies, about these things, about the economy, how this is that, how that is this, and you have your facts because you've read about it, it's not just, you see, this is not about obedience and people arguing. No, I'm talking about arguing policies, but not argument, actually contributing your part, right? Talking about what you think about the current economy and how it's going to affect. You're talking about you're giving a professional view as a finance and accounting person. Now, tell me how your boss is not going to respect you. Tell me how the people who are listening to you is not going to respect you. That I don't expect you to. They're not going to say it, right? But they know. They can observe that no, this person has substance. I don't expect him to be reading about FX floating and how it affects the business, how it affects the job, and all that kind of thing. So these are ways where you stand yourself out. You're not. It's not about Tinubu is blah blah. Is going to destroy blah blah blah, and then you can have all those your arguments maybe outside office, but the real thing, how is it going to affect your company? How does it affect your economy? Are you sure you understand it, or it's just somebody just posted on Twitter, Tinubu don't kill us, so FX is now 800. They've now floated the exchange rate. Now, to be sincere with you, I mean, if you're going to be sincere with me now, how many of you have actually bothered to read about what this thing is all about and how it impacts you, how it impacts your organization, how it impacts the economy? Have you bothered to read about it so that when people are talking about it, you can say something that makes sense from the professional perspective? That's how you differentiate yourself. You don't have to argue all those arguments. But when you say things, let people be able to say, no, this person is knowledgeable. And how do you get knowledgeable if you don't read? The knowledge is not going to come. So you have to read those things. You have to read about world economy, even African, economy, the world economy, how those things impact your company. Go to your company's website and see the news, the things they are doing, the current things, and arm yourself with all this knowledge so that when they're talking in meetings of big people, and then you, who is just an associate, it contributes something very intellectual to their conversation. Now, not just reading about these things, you read analysis of these things. What are some intellectuals saying about it? Some of them you would agree, some of them you disagree, right? Or, some of them, of course, because you don't have a lot of understanding about it, you just read it to have an understanding. And this understanding is what you go and, give your opinion about it. So, read all these things, arm yourself with the relevant knowledge. And then I'll move on to the next point. You see, develop relevant skills. When I was in British American Tobacco, relevant skills now, not just professional technical skills. Moving on from that. BAT, I was the compliance manager for West Africa. So the BAT had they had a branch in Cameroon, like 14 West African countries, right? And so the way they usually promote people, they could promote you. You go to Cameroon or go to Ghana or go to Cote d'Ivoire, right? And when they promote you like that and you go outside of Nigeria, it's a big deal. It's a big deal because the company is going to be taking care of all your expenses, your feeding, your housing, everything, and then your Nigerian salary will just be cooling off from your account. Now, so this was what I did. I started a French class, right? Because I knew it was going to give me an edge. Now, if they send somebody to Cameroon or Cote d'Ivoire, they will still have to organize French lessons for the person. So I started a French class, and I used to go I think Tuesday evening, Thursday evenings, and Friday mornings. Those were the sacrifices I had to make because I wanted to get ahead of my colleagues. Of course, they knew it's not like something you've been doing is secret. You need to be open. You need to be open. There are some things you could feel, okay, I don't need to let everybody know, but you should be open as much as possible. It's not a competition as such, so you shouldn't try to be consciously competing with your team members. So I was going to the French class. I think I went for 1 month, and I learned quite a lot. And I stopped going because I had to resign and go to but that thing was going to put me ahead of the other guys. These guys are also technically sound, right? But if they're looking at people and they bring us all together and say, okay, Matthew is good, this other person is good, that other person is good, but how do I stand out? I stand out because I started French classes. I'm beginning to speak French. My boss was from Cameroon at that time. And so, he knew I was going to the class. So these are the little things that could help you. If there's any skill that you think, hey, in your kind of organizations, you think that this kind of skills is gonna be helpful. The people they are promoting, who are at the top, they have this kind of unique skills. They need to get out of the shell and go and develop that skill so that it puts you in a good place. Um, what are your attitude to challenges? That's the next point. Some people carry challenges on their faces in the work environment. It could be that you met a difficulty um, while you're trying to perform a task, and then because of that, everybody knows that something is wrong with you, just because of a challenge at work, like just a difficulty. You need to, if you used to do that, you need to change because your face has to. We all have challenges sometimes, but what's your disposition to challenge? What's your attitude to challenge? You don't have to be so sober such that nobody can come and meet you to discuss with you. When you meet challenges, what should you do? Seek help from the people who can help you. Hey, please, I need this. I'm stuck. I need this. I need to do that. I need to do this. And then you see that when you're seeking help and speaking to people, they'll come to your aid, right? But don't just sit down there and be so sober and gloomy and looking like the world is crashing on you. You have to get up. Because when challenges come like that, what should come to your mind is, okay, what's the next best step? What's the next best step? Because sometimes it can just be broken and all that, but no, hey, what's the next best step? Take the next best step. Because the next best step is going to help you to recover gradually. If it's to talk to somebody, hey, talk to whoever can help you, seek information, and you see that the challenge eventually will get sorted. So always keep a good face at work and don't let those things show on your faces. It's a different case when there could be some things happening at home and family, and it's not a very good period for you in terms of what's going on in your own personal life, and you can't really keep that because people will say that one is a little bit difficult, right? But I'm talking about the challenges you face at work. Going on to the next point, your temperament. You need to keep it in check. Some people they could easily get angry and shout at people, but you see, you need to keep your temperament in check in an environment like multinational firms or your firms where you are now. Because you see, your disposition and your attitude in the firms where you are now, if you're not in a very big firm, are those things that somebody wants to help you get into a big firm, you'll be looking at such that, okay, this person, does he have the right attitude? I know he's a very great guy, he's good, he's that, but does he have the right attitude? If you are the kind of person who shouts at people and ignore people when they speak to you just because you have a score to settle with them, then, hey, you might not get anywhere. So you have to keep your temperament in check. What do your team members say about you if you're leading people? They say, I know that guy, no, I don't want to see him, I don't want to talk to him, he's always talking to me rudely. You see, when they mess up, you need to be firm, but be very polite. You need to be a considerate team member and a good team lead. If they are to ask your team members to talk about you, they shouldn't have nasty things to say about you. If they have nasty things to say about you, or if your team members currently say nasty things about you, then you need to change, right? I'm sure you know your disposition to people, that people cannot come to you and talk to you because you're always very rude to them. You're always not, you can't even talk in a friendly manner to them. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. When I was in British American Tobacco, right? Now the cultures of companies are different. If you're in the culture of British American tobacco was different from the culture, yeah, culture of KPMG. Everybody knows that. In fact, some people culture of Big Four. You can go to the toilet and start crying by the time you're in charge. Lashes you with words, and that one is. I'm sure some of you might have heard the story. Like people cry. No, I don't know how it is now, but then, like people, they will cry like this, cry like when somebody talks to you anyhow, and because you had a lot of people, but you still have to. You're not going to talk back. You still have to comport yourself, and the best way to probably let it out is to weep and cry and say, "Man, what kind of life is this?" But you're still going to comport yourself. You're not going to insult anybody because the person who probably lashed you with words and all that might be the person who's going to help you with your next promotion, with your next big job, right? Because sometimes the pressure is coming from on top, and then when it comes on them, some people don't know how to handle pressure, and then they let it out. But you should know how to handle pressure. You would never see me shout on my team members. No, I will never let them feel the pressure. I will never. I will never let them feel the pressure because it is at that point that people can go any length for you. Your team members, if you tell them, hey, guys, you're sleeping in the office today, they will do it for you. Because they know you. They know, no, see, Matthew is not, he doesn't like stressing us. He talks to us in a polite way, right? And so if I tell them, guys, please, this is the sacrifice we need to make, they will do it for you. My team members have had to sleep in the office. When I was in American Tower, and that's because you just have to meet deadline. So, but all this, you cannot be the person that is always shouting at the team members, and when they ask you to do something, you're frowning and all that, and you expect people to sacrifice for you. Nobody's going to do that. So be very polite. Be very firm. Be firm when you need to be firm, right? But be very polite and be considerate. Now, one other thing that is very important is that we build very good work relationships, right? You can be an obedient while the other person, the team member, is obedient in terms of politics now, Nigerian politics, because I'm using this kind of terms because it's still ongoing and very hot. And the other person might be bats, right? You see, don't make enemies. Don't make enemies. I'm talking about work environments in your own personal life. Except you come to me for advice, that's by the side. But in a work environment, you see, maintain a very good work relationship with people, right? You might not be friends outside the office. You might not necessarily be friends, but maintain a very good work relationship. Hey, Matthew, please, I need this report, and usually send it to us by this time. Okay, I'm going to work on it. I'm just getting something done. I'll send it to you. Maintain a very good work relationship such that people can rely on you, whether you agree politically or not. You're not going to say no because this person is talking rubbish. How can you go and support that old man? Blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to give you a report. Then you're shooting yourself in the leg. So whatever the case may be, you need to maintain good relationship with people, work relationship. You might not be friends outside the office. So you people might be keeping malice outside the office, but you cannot keep malice in the office. Do what you have to do. Maintain work relationship, good work relationship with people. Send them the report you need to send them. Ask them what you need to ask them politely. Moving on, it's good that you have a mentor or mentors in any organization you find yourself. Identify people who are really interested in you, and then make them your mentor. Discuss with them. Let them know your plans, but let them be people that are reliable, that you can really discuss anything with. These are the people that will really help you and hold your hands and help you to find opportunities, help you to understand how you can really position yourself properly. But in choosing mentors, you have to be very careful. You have to have observed people. You have to see that, okay, I think me and this person clicks. Or even if, it's not like you've really been relating with that person, but you see this person seems like a cool guy, right? Or she seems like a cool lady. You can reach out to the person, hey, this is, I want you to be a mentor to me, blah, 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 blah. And then you roll that way. The person knows, okay, this person is serious. And you never know. Your mentor might be the person who's going to give you that next big job. So that's very important. In big firms, you like when I was in BAT, it's good that you can't even do one role more than 2 years. You have to change roles. If like I said initially, we had corporate finance, we had commercial finance, we have operations finance. So if we do corporate finance for 2 years or less, it could even be less. They would ask you to move around, move around to other aspects of finance. So if you're in an organization where they don't really rotate you or change you like that, if you've done 2 years in a particular role, you could ask to, you want to do something else within the finance organization now, because that's building you to be a more robust accountant. You understand receivables, you've done receivables for 2 years, or you've done revenue for 2 years. Now, go to payables or go to budgeting and forecasting, like move around, because that's going to help you to be a more robust person such that, okay, have you done this before? I've done it. Have you done that before? I've done it. And tell me, if you go to an interview and they're asking, have you done this before? Tell me what you've done before, and you tell them you've done all these other things, that you've gone around all these other aspects. And somebody who has just been on one role for 3 years, for 4 years without change, you're in a better place, right? Because you are more robust. You can serve as an utility person while you're doing your main role. You can also help with other things. So in your organizations, you can seek, if it's not an organization that has that plan that, hey, people rotate, you can seek for opportunities to rotate into another role, but within accounting or any role that suits you, that's close to accounting related stuff. You change and so that you can expand your experience. So something, I think this will be my last point. Something very key is that you keep very good network of friends. Some of you might not be working in very prestigious firms now, right? Very prestigious firms, but you see, wherever you are, wherever you're working, identify people with substance and get close to them. People with substance. Some of them will be billionaires tomorrow. Some of them will be world changers tomorrow. Those people you're looking at now, that you guys are still hustling together. Identify people with substance. I told you, NYSC, it was a friend that let me know about Big Four, and then I got into KPMG. When I left KPMG for British American Tobacco, it was another friend who had already left KPMG. I was in BAT, that told us about the opportunity. The funny thing, the BAT opportunity, I didn't get information. I wasn't the first person to get information. The guy told another lady who were in the same audit unit together, and then she passed the information to the rest of us. And then those of us who applied, I was the one that was selected, right? But it was somebody else in my team or in my unit that passed the information. I had a very good work relationship. It wasn't like, I don't want to see this lady, because we had that good relationship. That was how she was able to pass that information. And how did that guy pass the information to her? Network of friends. Keep that network of friends. Very, very important. Now, when I left BAT to American Tower, the person who brought me to American Tower was somebody I knew from KPMG, right, who was a year ahead of me, but beyond that, we were friends. And then the interview was formal, just formality. When I interviewed at American Tower, it was, if 100 people interviewed for that job, I was going to get it. Why? It was my friend bringing me in. You see, if you look at people now and say, hey, this guy, his trousers doesn't reach the ground, is ugly or she's ugly. I don't like her face. I don't like his face. You're making a big mistake. You're making a very big mistake. Identify people with substance and get close to them. Roll with them. These are people who are going to be big tomorrow. And so you see how friends have, made a lot of impact in my life. So you also need to keep that network of friends. People with substance, not, of course, we have, maybe some of you have, club friends. When it comes to club, these are people I roll with. And then when it comes to professional or whatever, but I don't know, however kind or categories of friends you want to keep, but you need to keep that network of friends who are going to lift you up professionally. Don't despise people. Don't despise people and say, no, this one, the way he smells, the way if he smells, then help him, tell him somehow. If you don't feel comfortable telling him directly, but this guy is sound, this guy has substance, help him. She has, it's not everybody that would have that good outlook. Then help them. When you identify that they have substance, you need to get close and, hey, let's roll. Of course, you're not going to say it directly, but eventually, things, you guys will start rolling by the way you help the person and your disposition to the person. Because I tell you that you never know. You never know. So it's very critical that you make that good network of friends. The few friends I have now, I don't have a lot of friends, but the few friends I have now, I think they are mostly people I met in KPMG. Mostly the network I created in KPMG and a few other people I've known, maybe from primary school or secondary school, very few people, university, very few. But most of my friends right now are people I met in KPMG and I kept that network, And, if I run into any challenge now, the next person I call, the first person I'll call, aside family, the first person I'm going to call is somebody we met in KPMG. That, hey, guy, please, I have this challenge. You have to, I know you can solve it. Just solve it now. And that's because I was able to, create that network of friends. And, those network of friends, right? If there's any opportunity, they share it within the network first. They won't let any outsider take it. No way. So long the person has the power, no outsider is going to take it. No outsider. Just like, when I went to American Tower, no outsider was going to take it. It's not because I'm good, at least I can perform technically on the job as well. So, no outsider is not going to come and just. So, those are the people who maybe God is going to place in your life, but you need to make that step as well to be a good person and get close to them. Once you identify them, don't despise people at all. This person, Okola, he has tribal mark, he has this on his face. Don't despise people. So that's friendship, whatever it's very, very, very critical. And you as well, you'll be a good friend to other people. And you'd see that eventually as time passes, it begins to pay off. And I tell you that these people, when we were in KPMG and all that, they were not, it's not like they were from rich homes or anything, but they were people with substance. So I guess I've spoken a lot. I'll just stop now to take your questions if there are any.
Thank you very much, Mr. Matthew, for that amazing session. I learned a lot. So, if you have any questions, please kindly raise up your hand or use the chat box. So, I have a question. So, when you were talking, you said something about like doing more, putting in your effort. So my question is like, at what point do you stop? At what point do you see that your efforts are not being appreciated? You know, sometimes you do something and it feels like your efforts are not being appreciated. So at what point do you recognize that you have been undervalued at a particular place, then move on to another place? Thank you.
Okay, so you should never stop at any point because you never know when you'll be seen. So the fact that you're not appreciating you does not mean you now begin to give low quality work. Maintain that top quality. Somebody is going to come and notice it, right? And the fact that somebody is not even acknowledging you and saying, hey, no, Faith, you're doing nonsense, blah, blah, that's not necessarily true. Some people just don't know how to appreciate people. They don't know how to say, hey, Faith, you're doing a good job. That's how some people are just wired. So you have to keep doing what you're doing to the best of your knowledge, to the highest quality, to the highest standards. I tell you that a very good quality work can never go unnoticed. Eventually, even if they are passing it by now, just maintain it. If you feel like you need to move on, you're moving on to bigger opportunities, not moving on because they are not appreciating you. So you're moving on because I feel like, oh, this opportunity is better for me career wise, and then that's why you're moving. So just keep the standard work, keep the quality work. It will definitely be appreciated sooner or later.
Thank you very much. That makes sense. That really answered my question. So we'll be taking questions from the audience. Desmond, can you unmute your mic and ask your question?
Okay, good, good afternoon, Mr. Matthew. Good afternoon, everyone. So I have three short questions, Mr. Matthew. First, what does corporate finance entail generally? Because when you read it online or you see it in a book, they tell you merger and acquisition, capital raising, but I'm sure in the real world it goes beyond that. So one, if you can just summarize, what does corporate finance entail? Two, because I'm really, really interested in corporate finance. That's where I want to like specialize. So I'm like really, really interested. So two, what are the skills? What are the top skills, like raw skills, technical skills, like budgeting, all those things for a corporate finance, maybe analyst to like excel? What are the top skills? Or to say, okay, you want to get into that field, what are the top skills that you feel like, okay, can help you excel and can help you break into that field? And three, if you don't have certification yet, is it that it's very, very difficult to get into that, or maybe with your skills you could break into it, something like that? Thank you.
Oh, okay, I'll start with the last question. If you don't have certification, well, you just need to keep talking to people. You don't have certification. What steps are you taking to have it? Right? Start the step, right? And then keep talking to people who are in that field. Hey, I'm really interested in this field, and this is what I'm doing. Right now, I don't have certification, but I'm really interested. You have some people who have audit firms who they are willing to take you in, and even though you don't have any certification, and quote unquote audit firms, people start from that. They start from a small organization, a small accounting unit in an organization, and start from there. But let them know that hey, you don't have it right now the steps that you taking to having it. You see, the raw skills, it's the second question now. The raw skills you need for corporate finance, really. The skills you need is just the fact that if you don't have the real experience first, you need to, the general skill of, hey, you need to be willing to learn, and willing to adjust, and willing to sacrifice.
Okay.
Because this field sometimes, you can spend longer hours at work, especially when it's month-end reporting and all that. So you learn, you sacrifice, and you need to be willing to upgrade your skills as well, right? Those are the, raw skills that you need if, of course, you've not gotten into that field yet. So when you get into the field, you start learning, you start sacrificing. It's not like they say, hey, let's just create more time to do this now. We spend some more time at work, and you're complaining, you're grumbling, you know, and you're still trying to develop your resume, you're trying to develop your skills. So these are the sacrifices you need to make, right? See, corporate finance, I don't think there's one general response for that. like I told you, see, it can be used interchangeably. Corporate finance, accounting. Some corporate finance teams, they are only doing accounting, right? So when in some organizations anyway, very big organizations, they will have maybe M&A team, but I don't see a lot of that happening in Nigeria. It happens a lot in the West. They would have teams that are mergers and acquisition. We want to acquire. Those are companies that are really, really acquiring companies, other smaller companies every now and then, right? They will have an M&A team that is always doing valuation, always doing due diligence and all that. So that's still part of finance, but a lot of still different definitions for different people. When it comes to capital raising and raising equity, all those ones are still finance, but more of investment banking. Investment banking under finance, right? So it involves it's quite broad. It's just for you to now determine, okay, which part of this do you want to follow? Which one do you want to do? Yeah. So I hope I've been able to answer those questions.
Yeah, you were. Thank you, Mr. Matthew.
No problem. Okay. Other
Okay.
questions?
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. There is also Akinpelu, Miss Akinpelu Adenike. Can you unmute your mic and ask your question?
Okay.
Akinpelu Adenike.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Matthew. Good evening, everyone. Mr. Matthew, thank you for that child that you have given unto us. So I want to ask a question and to seek your advice as well. I work as a finance head in my company, and my company is a key distributor to FMCG company, to precise, let me say Unilever. And we normally have a target they gave us every month to meet. But in my company, the sales manager, I'm in the middle of the sales manager and the MD. The sales manager, we want to meet up our targets, and my MD will be on me on receivable at the end of the month. That our receivable is high, and he also needs to meet that target so that we can earn incentive from Unilever. So I'm in the middle of them, the MD and the sales manager. So what will you advise me to do? Because if I said, no, I'm going to be blunt to sales manager, that means we are not going to earn incentive, and it's going to affect us as a business as well.
Oh, I see. So, number one, this one has to do with who first, who are you more responsible to? Who is going to evaluate you at the end of the day to say, hey, Mrs. Akikbalu did a good job, or she didn't do as expected at the end of the period, and when they start talking about evaluation. Now, that's where your loyalty lies to more first. More. If your loyalty, if it's the MD is going to evaluate you, then you have to listen more to the MD, which I believe in this case, maybe the MD has more power than the sales manager. I'm not very sure. Yes.
MD.
So you need to incline more to what the MD is saying in terms of the receivables and all that. But you let the sales manager know, hey, we have to, you're running for meeting target, but what are you doing on collecting our receivables? Are there specific plans, or they've left everything to you to do the plan? So the sales manager should be able to tell you, hey, these are the things we're doing with respect to collecting our money. There has to be like reliable and practical steps to collecting these receivables. I understand what you're saying very well, because salespeople, they are always just book it, let's meet it, book it. But at the end of the day, the thing will just lie down in receivables. But ultimately, your loyalty should lie more with your MD, because he is the one who's going to be able to say you've done well or not done well. But you manage the sales manager that, hey, see, you can't just be booking these things. I'm responsible for receivables, and if our receivables are too large and they are getting high, it's going to tell on your performance. So you put yourself first in that regard. Put yourself first ahead of the sales manager. Let the sales manager understand we can't just keep doing this and booking this. So we also kind of work with the sales manager to say, hey, see, sir or man, we need to see how I want us to meet target, but these are receivable parts. We need to see how we'll be able to collect them. So it's a kind of diplomatic approach. You're not going to be saying outright no to him or her, but say, what is the plan? How do we? I'm really interested in those meeting targets. It's also going to help my bonus, blah, blah, blah. But receivables are having problems. They are increasing. What's the plan on receiving, collecting our money? But when it comes to this is what we have to do, then incline to what the MD wants. So just a lot of diplomacy has to come into that. You incline to the MD, but manage the sales manager properly as well.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You
Thank you very
Thank
much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Matthew. We have one question here and I'll read it out. Someone is asking, what is your advice to undergraduates in order to have the right footing?
Well, so undergraduates, it depends if you're in an accounting undergraduate or if not, then you need to start taking the steps. Maybe start writing the ICANN exams or ACC exams, and speaking to people who are in that field already. Start having this kind of network. You've been meeting people in this kind of network and this kind of programs, attend events of professionals and aspiring people, right? Start reading about all those things I've talked about. But what is more critical for you as an undergraduate is to start considering how to get the certification and building your network around this people, professionals who are in the line that you want to get to, accounting professionals. When I say build your network, a real network, like when you meet people in programs, you follow up with them. You follow up with them that, hey, we met at this program and blah blah blah. I'll be messaging you from every now and then. That's how you keep your network, and then those people too will be sharing information with you and all that. So start thinking about how to get the certification and maintain your network. I know maybe there are some scholarship, whatever, that they will help students pay for ICANN, or you can research those things, right? And you never know, you might get some scholarship that will say, hey, write this level of, we'll sponsor this level, and then when you pass again, maybe you get another scholarship, we'll sponsor that level. So do your research, keep that community. Yeah. So any other question?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Matthew. We have a question. We have someone, Toyosi Abayomi. Can you please unmute your mic and ask your question?
Yeah, thank you, Dara. Good evening, Mr. Matthew. I actually have two questions. The first question is, you talked about rotation, job rotation. That being an accountant, you can't just be stagnant in one position. But this is actually happening to me. I've been working with this organization for like 2 years now. Exactly 2 years now as an account payable. And then I've actually approached my manager that about job rotation, that I don't want to be a payable officer because I have a perspective of working or handling a financial reporting role. But this financial reporting role is not actually we don't have the units in my department. But I've been trying to talk to him about, okay, move me from payable, take me to treasury or receivable or all those things. But he was like saying that, no, I know how to handle this particular role. He trusts me on that you cannot actually give the role to another person that can do it as much as I am handling it. So what advice would you give me? The second question is, like I said, I have the passion to work or to how will I even put it? To work as a financial reporting manager later in the future. But what advice can you give someone like me that has that specialized role in the future to actually handle? What step can I take who can I meet, what organization can I actually can I apply into, or what are the necessary steps, skills that is required of me to do. Thank you very much.
All right. I'll just try like to seek one or two clarification from you, Curiously. So this your manager you're currently working with, is he also in charge of receivables and treasury?
No, 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 no. He's our CFO.
Okay.
Yes.
So everybody reports to him.
Everybody reports to him.
That means he oversees the treasury and receivable as well.
Everything.
Okay. Yeah. So now, this kind of case, keep doing your job very well, right? And don't stop telling him that you want to rotate. You understand? So what that means is that your quality of work is not going to reduce. You're still going to be giving him top-notch work. The way he relies on you now, let him be able to continually rely on you, such that when the opportunity now comes, he knows that, hey, I think it's time for Toyosi to go to Treasury. I know after 2 months I can rely on him. So keep the standard of your work now, but don't keep quiet about your wanting to move to other roles. That's one. The second thing, the treasury and receivable people, you need to start, shooking your eyes into what they are doing, shooking your eyes into it, such that if something happens, maybe some person in treasury or receivables falls ill within the critical period they need the person, then you to yourself can stand there and say, actually, I know how it does it. It's just like this, is like that. You've built another level of trust with your CFO that way. That the CFO will feel like, okay, now I know, okay, I'm going to agree to your this thing now, but you promised me something. You're going to train somebody in payables while you are handling the receivables or treasury role. So you need to build that level of trust that the person say, no, I know that the way you handle payables, you can even handle treasury like that. So don't relent on the way you're handling your payables now. Don't relent. Don't relent on telling your CFO that, please, I'm seeking to rotate. I don't want to just be account. I don't want to carry the tag of account payable officer all my career, right? Which you need to move. Then start looking into treasury and receivables. What are these guys? Guys, what do you do? Even if it's not directly, just which report should they always prepare stuff all these months? When you do month end, let me see this report. Which information do you use to prepare this report? Who sent you this? Who sent you that? How do you do this? How do you do that? And then the treasury guy, okay, bank, how do you post whatever? How do you do this? This your reconciliation. When you do it, how do you get this information like that? And before you know it, you know everything going on in that place. And the opportunities will always show itself, sooner or later. But when it shows itself, you now have the capacity to show yourself that you are fit when the opportunity shows itself. So you prepare yourself ahead of the opportunities so that when the opportunity comes, you can take it. Yeah, so I hope I've been able to. Yeah, so the second part is the steps with respect to financial reporting manager. So the steps are what you've already started doing now. You've done payables, seek to do other roles, right? And then networking is a big part of these things. Because sometimes it's people you know that will help you, people you have built relationship with that will help you sometimes. Sometimes people you don't know, you just met them but what you've done right now, you've done payables, seeking to change to other roles and all that. You do that. And then you also speak with people who are doing financial reporting right now, who are really, really into it. Connect with them. Try to understand what they do. Whoever is doing financial reporting in your place, now maybe you have a financial reporting manager, of course, maybe, I don't know, the person might be so senior to you, but you would already be, seeing how the person is coordinating the things and coordinating all the different aspects of accounting function, and the kind of reports the person brings together, how they do the balance sheet reconciliation, or maybe the person is in charge of budgeting and forecasting, right? So where you are now, if maybe there's a financial reporting manager, you can, the terms the person is using, that helps you. Yeah, I think this financial reporting manager in my company covers this area, covers that area, covers this area. So then build your understanding in those respective areas, respective areas.
So actually, we don't have currently, but we have
That's
senior accountants.
that's fine. So build your understanding in these respective areas of payables, receivables, and all that, right? And in addition to that, financial reporting has a lot to do with budgeting and forecasting, right? You can start going online to learn about budgeting, to learn about forecasting, because budgeting and financial reporting really is that, okay, at the end of the month, we have okay, before every year, we prepare budgets. Now, this is what we want to do, and this is how much we intend to spend, this is how much we intend to make, which of course they do forecasting as well. Budget is typically annual, and forecast, depending on the company, might be rolling forecast. Every month they update it, or every quarter they update it, right? Periodically they update it, but the budget is going to be 2023 budget forecasts quarterly or monthly. Go on YouTube, learn about budgeting, learn about forecasting. Now, at the end of the day, the financial reporting manager will now say, okay, you are budgeted, we will do this. What were the actuals? What were the actual things that we did? What were our actual numbers? They'll now compare it with the budget and the forecast and provide explanations, right? To say they'll prepare what they call variance analysis, variance report to say, hey, we were short of revenue by XX amount because this vendor, this customer did not buy as much as he said he would buy. We spent more because we had to renovate the office and something happened, blah, 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 blah. So they'll write all those kind of things. So start building your knowledge around budgeting, around forecast, and you can make friends with people who are working in these aspects. In this kind of group now, you can link up with people who are doing FP&A, right? FP&A in the organizations, and try to speak to them and understand what they do. So that way, you'll be able to build your skills, build your network, attend events join groups that has financial reporting people in it, attend events that financial reporting people organize. And then that way you build your understanding. You also know your expectations, things that are expected of you, as somebody who is intending to become a financial reporting manager, the skills they want you to have. And that way, you start knowing the things you need to get. If you seek, you'll find. So, next question.
Thank you very much.
So, thank you very much, Mr. Matthew. We have Abubakar Idris. Please, can you unmute your mic and ask your question, Abubakar?
Thank you, Mr. Matthew, for the insightful session thus far. So one key thing that I've gained from this evening is the significant impact that your clique, your circle of friends, have had in your career. So I need you to just give us some details as to how you're able to spot those particular individuals, especially the ones you met at KPMG, and how you're able to develop and keep that rapport for a very long period, to the extent that they're also able to help you with opportunities and help you get to the point where you are presently.
Yeah, so first thing, you need to be very, looking for the word, maybe sensitive or attentive and observant, because if people have substance, you will know. And how do you know? You just need to hear them talk. And not just empty talks. I'm talking about talking in the professional organizations, talking about the job. And when you hear them talk, you know that this person has substance. This person has something. So when you're observant and sensitive, the person might not necessarily be in your own unit, right? It could be in other, but you need to, create that path such that you find your way to this person and you build that rapport, you know. So when you're sensitive and observant that way, you will be able to identify some people who have that substance, and you follow it up. You follow it up. You find your way. You could ask to be on the same project with them. You know, if possible, ask to be on the same project with them because you know you're going to learn from them. You know, so find your way to be in their face, and start, of course, making deliberate efforts to connect and to sustain the connection, right? So when as the more you get in their faces and things bring you together, the closer you get. The closer you get, because if things don't really bring you together as such, and you're just a guy, know the role now. You say, what's it concern me and you? I saw you before. That kind of stuff. So the more things bring you together, the more you guys will roll, the more familiar you become with each other. But you need to make the deliberate effort. There are times when these guys, they will leave shortly after you started that relationship, or you have to leave. But maintain the connection. Follow up the connection. Don't don't stop. Don't stop. There was one guy, KPMG together. He spent 1 or 2 years before he left for somewhere else. But we are still very, very close today. Very, very close, and that's because of the connection we're able to build within the 1 or 2 years that he stayed in KPMG. After he left, we kept connecting and all that. But I have one regret today, right? There was one guy we met at, it was a Deloitte interview at that time. The guy is, it was my friend. We connected, but I think KPMG Wala started, getting into me, and I wasn't reaching out to him as much. He started with Deloitte. I didn't get that Deloitte then. He started with Deloitte. And then after 1 year, he left to NNPC. He told me, hey, guy, I'm going to NNPC. And, I didn't really put a lot of effort into that friendship. I guess maybe because we were not seeing too much. We just saw briefly, maybe once or twice at that Deloitte interviews then. Just once or twice, right? But we exchanged numbers. At the point, I think I lost his number, but social media is there. The guy is an MD of an energy company now. He's an MD of an energy company now. And I see on social media, I see him in private jets, just flexing, So I missed that. Although we still talk casually now, just once in a while, but that deep connection is no longer there, right? But imagine, look at that kind of person. Of course, you didn't know. I didn't know he was going to become an MD. Is about my age, and for him to become an MD at this point, the kind of benefits MDs get, right? So don't let people go like that. Once you spot them, don't let them go. Of course, then I knew this guy was a first-class law student and blah, blah, but, it was just life. I mean, let me concentrate on people stressing me and blah, blah. I used to text him once in a while, but I didn't really put in as much effort as I should have So once you spot them, don't let them go. Maintain the relationship. Text every now and then. Call every now and then. And you see that you'll be able to sustain the friendship. Yeah. Any more? All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Matthew. Like from what you just said, it felt like you were talking to me. Because once in a while it feels like it's always difficult trying to like keep up with relationships, and really in this life it is good when you have like a valuable network. Someone once said that your network determines your net worth. So thank you very much, Mr. Matthew, for that beautiful and amazing session. So before we call it a day, please, if you still have questions for our distinguished speaker, can you raise up your hand so you could ask your question? Or you could use the chat box too, any. If you still, and yes, also if you check the chat box, I dropped the link to Mr. Matthew's LinkedIn. So if you want to connect with him, do well to check the chat box. Also, if you're interested in being a member of the Finance Business Partners, where you get to meet other like-minded individuals who are interested in their professional and career growth, the link to our LinkedIn page is there, as well as the link to our WhatsApp group. Please do well to join if you are not a member. So please, if you still have any other question, please raise up your hand so we can take your question. Okay, I think we are done for today. Thank you very much, Mr. Matthew. I learned a whole lot. Thank you very much. And thank you to every other person that came today. Thank you for giving us this evening. I'm sure you learned a lot as well. So let's just say thank you to our guest speaker. Let's all unmute our mic and tell him thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Matthew. Can we unmute our mic and say thank you to our speaker?
Thank you, Mr. Matthew. God
Thank you
bless you,
very
sir.
much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very much. I appreciate
Thank
your
you so much.
presence.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. Always happy to converse with. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Anything you can chat me up. Chat me up. We can
Yes,
discuss.
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. God bless you, sir.
No problem.
We've already sent the
Okay. No worries.
request.
One. I
I
would.
thank
Yeah. I would accept them.
Okay.